All right, so here we are back in the studio. So in part one, I kind of introduced the entire project. We talked through several items about actually how the client had discovered azdrone.net and also what the client was looking to do for their particular project at their ranch way out in the middle of nowhere. So after sitting down with the client, going over blueprints, being given a couple of blueprints and drawings as to what was going to be happening, I knew that I would have some network connectivity issues. So as I said at the end of the last segment, I said that helped me make some decisions about what tools, what apps I was going to use for flight and capture. So it helped me to decide that yes, in fact, I would be using Litchi, and I use Litchi so much, and that I would be using Ground Station Pro. Now, when you get into locations where you don't necessarily have network connectivity, on some of these applications for your smartphones or your tablets, you're going to go out to a location, you're going to pull up the application, and you're going to have a blank screen. You're not going to have any kind of you're not going to have any kind of reference points at all. So you got this weird blank screen. You show up. Now you're stuck. How do I get the corners of this property? How do I get the locations where I want to fly and where I don't want to fly? And making sure that I'm staying in my client's property and not rolling over onto somebody else's lot. And fortunately, here in Yavapai County, we have interactive tax maps, the Yavapai County interactive tax maps, which I have up on screen right over here. So I found out where the client was, I found out what they were wanting to do, and I needed to start doing some planning before I even started a first flight for them. So came back to the office and I plopped down, and the first thing that I did was I actually got onto the web. I went to the Yavapai County Interactive Tax Map, and I'm just zooming this back out for a little bit. So this is not the client's location. This is another location. This is Point of Rocks RV Campground. It's a public location. A lot of people stay there every year. They're friends of mine and they're clients of mine. So I figured, hey, I'll use their parcels to show you what I'm talking about. So on this interactive tax map, you might notice as we look around here that there are some GPS coordinates in here. So I can actually mark corners of a property in Ground Station Pro with the information that I get from the Yavapai County Interactive Tax Map. In your locations, there's going to be something similar. Maybe you'll have to go into an actual office to pull corners and information, but this is super convenient for me. So this is something that's kind of outside of the drone space that you might not think of. But if you're offered a project where you don't have all your reference points, you might not have active maps, you might not have an active connection, you need to find other ways to start planning your flight paths. So I sat down with the client's particular parcel and I actually grabbed GPS coordinates off of it for all the corners. It was a pretty straightforward, simple one. Four major corners, a little bit of a dip into the property, which wasn't going to impact the flight because of where I would be pointing the camera and where I'd be flying to actually make a orthomosaic model as well. So maps like these are really convenient for early planning. I've said before on other YouTube videos, a lot of the time, it's not until you hit the ground that you can hash everything out. And that is absolutely true, and I still stand by that. But when you're dealing with a larger property, and some of the property having inaccessible areas, how do you get those corner points? This is one way. So once I got those corner points, I jotted them down. I put them in a little text editing file for myself so that I'd have them as a point of reference. And then I was ready to move on to actually doing some initial planning for the property with Ground Station Pro and also with Litchi, because Litchi also allows you to put waypoints, GPS coordinates into your waypoints. So before we jump on to Ground Station Pro, I'm going to drop this browser window and I'm going to show you the next browser window, which is one of my other client sites. Once again, we're not seeing the coordinates of the ranch client, but we are seeing coordinates of another flight path that I created. So I'm on Litchi's Mission Hub right now. And for this particular client project, which is a new construction of 100 100 unit luxury apartment complex in Prescott. Um, I went to their location and I actually set a lot of my flight paths initially by flying the property and making waypoints, capturing waypoints with my DJI Mavic 2 Pro. I set one of the custom keys on my controller to drop waypoints on Litchi, which made things really easy because I could fly where I wanted to, position the drone where I wanted to, set that waypoint, move along, and get to the next waypoint. What's really awesome is the fact that you can do fine tuning after the fact. So on the Litchi app itself, if you're on your iPhone, if you're on your iPad, on the Litchi app itself, you cannot set latitude and longitude. But once you've synchronized the new missions that you've created to Litchi's Mission Hub, which should be an automatic thing, if you're signed in with your smartphone, it should automatically hit the Litchi Mission Hub. But on the Mission Hub, I can actually go in. So right over here, upper right-hand corner, we're taking a look. There's the latitude and the longitude. So I could, in fact, change these numbers, or let's say if I was making a new flight path, I could pop those numbers into Litchi from the Mission Hub. So this is a great way to start pre-planning things, especially if you're going to be stuck at a location where you don't have network feed after. So that's one of the big challenges when I said in the last section that this particular project had some major challenges. It sure did because of its location and because of its lack of access to, really reliable network. While I was out there last time, I had one bar of 1x and then it blinked out and it came back and it blinked out and I couldn't even send a text message out of there. So very problematic for, if you're on the ground and you need the maps to reference. So if you're planning a larger project, let's say you're doing a 2 or 3D model and you're doing it in a location that might not be network friendly, then you might want to think about Ground Station Pro as one of your tools and Litchi as one of your tools. As I've said before, on Map Pilot, there's no place to plug in GPS coordinates. You can upload KML files. I haven't done that, but let me know on this channel if we should talk about generating KML files from Google Earth and getting them into Map Pilot, and we'll see if we can do something about that. Because that's another way around it for pre-planning. As I've said previously as well, I do like doing some of the planning on site. So I have these maps for reference for this particular location. So I created the flight maps in advance, but once I have those points plotted out, I know the fenced-in area that I need to be working in. And with that in mind, I can continue making waypoints throughout the modeling area, throughout the photo area, throughout the video area. And yeah, I know exactly where I need to be flying. So if I fly inside that area for the collection of the data for the clients, I'm good. So that process of actually grabbing the tax maps, getting the GPS coordinates off of them, and then loading them into either Litchi's Mission Hub or loading them into Ground Station Pro is absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to pause this recording for a minute to stop that camera that's right there because we're going to switch over and we're going to take a look at the at Ground Station Pro itself and how I can actually utilize waypoints, or I'm sorry, GPS coordinates as waypoints around a map. We're going to do a brief overview of Ground Station Pro as well. So we're going to talk about that. But in the little info card that's just dropped down in the upper right corner of the screen for you, I do have links to my other full-on Ground Station Pro primers where you learn a little more about Ground Station Pro. Rather than reinventing the wheel, I would suggest clicking over to them to learn a little bit more about Ground Station Pro, and then you can pop back here to finish out this video where we're actually popping in the GPS coordinates manually. All right, everyone, so check that drop down, and then you can check out those videos. There's 3 of them, and then come back to this, and we'll talk about how all of this works into the current ranch project. All right, welcome back from that quick little break. And while we took that little break, I decided to move around that Yavapai County interactive tax map because all of those parcels were a little confusing. Taking a look at Pointer Rocks because they own multiple parcels, so there's multiple corners. So I thought what would be a good idea here is to find a simple parcel of land. So let's pretend that this is a client parcel, and most likely this particular location also doesn't have a network. So there you go. So on this interactive tax map, what's really nice, and you might not have one of these, and that's okay, but on this particular one, I can actually click on showing. So we got degrees, minutes, seconds, or decimal and degrees. I'm going to go with that one, add coordinates. And so we're looking at this perfect little square here. So I can actually go to each of the corners and give a click to the corners. So there we go. We're just, and I didn't do that one good, but that's okay. And we're just doing a rough thing. After all, this is just a training video. So I now have my corners for this one. And so I've got my GPS coordinates. So now I can go take a look at Ground Station Pro, which I hope you went back and referred to the other Ground Station Pro videos that we have on channel. And what I'm doing in Ground Station Pro, I don't want to do a photo map. I don't want to do a virtual fence. Although the virtual fence would be helpful too. I want to do a 3D area map. So I could actually fly the property and collect the corners and collect coordinates with the aircraft, but I'm going to just tap these out. So here we go. And actually this zoomed me into not where I want to be. So talk about a pain there. This happens often, so this is one of the things with Ground Station Pro. I wish I could do better searches on Ground Station Pro. Actually search for an address on it would be super convenient. Unfortunately, that's not really a feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag out here in the general vicinity, and I just tapped a square right there. So there's my little square, and it's got a bunch of lines in it for a flight path. But what's really important for you to take a look at over on the right-hand side of this mission creation, down at the bottom of the right-hand bar, you see lat and long. Okay, so I'm going to tap on one of these corners. So I tapped on the left-hand lower corner, and I'm looking right here, and it's at 34. Let's go in and correct that one. So it's 34.625099, and then the next one, -112.72703. I'm going to click on done, and let's take a look at that. 34, okay, the 34 is still not correct there. But see how that dragged that way, way out to that point over there in the corner. So we did affect some change. So now I'm just going to go back in and correct that one. So sometimes this doesn't work right off. And if you just give it a whirl again, 9 times out of 10, you will be good. So there we go. It put that corner way out there, which is where it's really supposed to be. So I messed up, and let's go to the upper left corner. So I just selected that one, and we're going to go back in here again, and we're going to correct this one as well. So this is the lower right corner, or I'm sorry, upper left corner. So that is 34.631950. Hit next, and now we're going to do 112.727.052. So as I said before, we're getting this information off of that county tax map. I'm now going to the lower right corner, and that one, let's go ahead and correct that one. 34.625187. Next, and we're gonna, and it's complaining it can't set that point because it's getting squirrely where it's setting these points, but when you reset it a second time, it usually takes after you put the longitude in as well. So -112, 718, 426, say done, and it's still not quite happy with that, so let's go back into the latitude to correct it. So 625, 187. If I hit next and hit done, now we're left with one last point, which was the upper right point. I'm going to tap on that one. And once again, by the way, if you can't tell, this takes a little bit of work. So it's going to take a few moments to plug these in manually. 34.631, 914. And then into the next one. And you saw that that moved way out of the way. So -112, 0.718, 319. Boop. All right, so now if I zoom this out a little bit, there is my block over there. So I did a bad job of, randomly selecting it. But now we have our nice little blocked out area. And if we take a look on screen, back at the Yavapai County Interactive Tax Map, we see this dirt road down here that's actually curving, and so it's curving from the north toward the south. And yes, this is the right area. So we just picked a simple parcel. I have no idea whose parcel this is, so don't go out visiting that either. It's a bunch of crazy dirt roads, and from there we can start really truly setting up our mission. So if we were trying to do a orthomosaic model or a 3D model, we would start playing around with the rest of the features over here, like a camera model Mavic Pro, or is it the Mavic 2 Pro, parallel to the main path or course aligned, inside mode, and then our speed and our elevation, we can go through and start setting these things up. But so I'm showing you this. You might not ever have to go through this process, but I'm showing you this because this was part of my planning steps due to where that parcel was located. So normally, if you're in an area with network connectivity, it's going to be very simple for you because you can actually go out to the location, pull up one of these applications. The application is actually going to show you that you're located in the area, and you can just plot things out roughly by hand. But when you start getting into parcels that are problematic due to network or some other reasons, referring to your county tax maps and tax parcels might be a great way for you to start pre-planning some of this stuff. So I can do a very similar thing with Litchi. I can actually plot things out in a general blocked out area, and then I can go into the Litchi Mission Hub on their website and use the website to actually refine the latitude and longitude of each of your waypoints based on the parcels that you're working in. So there you go. This is how we've had to plan this particular one. In another video for another construction location, everything I did was actually on location by hand because it was such a small parcel. It was only a 5-acre parcel with new buildings going in. So it made it a lot easier because I could do the boots on the ground thing there and not worry about, I'm not off bushwhacking and getting lost in the high desert. It's very obvious where the property lines are, where the construction's going on, and where someone else's property starts. So this is why, at least for this particular project, Station Pro and Litchi were picked, so that I could actually manually enter GPS coordinates of the location in the event that things didn't work when I was out in the field for mapping out my modeling area. So this is the end of lesson 2 or video 2, whatever we'd like to call this. And in the next one, we're actually going to be out on location. You're going to see the overall maps for the locations on the applications on Ground Station Pro and on Litchi. And you're going to see some of the flight and some of the image and video capture. After that part of this series, We're going to bring all that data back, bring the images and all the information in the images back to the office. And at that point, we're going to start dealing with the post-processing. So you're going to be expecting 2 more sections here. So the next section is going to be back out in the field again, flying the drone, collecting the data. And then after we do that, we'll come back to the office, and video number 4 will be about creating our deliverables from all the content that we've brought back. So let me know what you think of this series and if it's coming together well for you. I think this particular video number 2, might be a little confusing to you because you might not have to use these tax maps. So this is my workflow for this particular project. This is not necessarily the workflow that you need to utilize.